Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Trippy Show, special fantasy live stream edition. And we're actually going to go over our brand new fantasy football league. And our fantasy draft was just last night. We'll recap that and go over our Trippy crew for the 2015 fantasy football season. We're all pretty excited. We also have you guys right here in the chat, so if you have any fantasy questions or questions in general, definitely throw them at us, and we'll answer any questions you guys have during this installment of the Trippy Show. Of course, I'm RJ. We have K-Mac here.
Yo, what's going on?
And Trippy Mike is live via satellite. Mike, can you hear us?
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Sorry about that, having a few technical difficulties here.
Alright, that seems to happen nowadays when you try to bring someone in live via satellite, especially in our area. We've been experiencing a lot of rain and thunderstorms here in the Tampa area, but thank you guys for joining us as we show off our fantasy league. Here it is, pretty crazy stuff. I intend to win it. Here's my team. I named it just recently the Fireball Skittle Beast, off of my number one overall pick, Marshawn Lynch. What do you think? I went Marshawn first overall. You had the number three part. You had number 3 pick, K-Mac.
Yeah.
And you ended up with Jamal Charles.
I did go with Jamal Charles. Yeah, I mean, it's a good pick. Marshawn Lynch came in second last year in total points for fantasy running backs, so really can't go wrong, and the guy's always going to put up, rushing yards. Hopefully they'll learn their lesson from last year and actually give it to him on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Get you some more touchdowns this year.
I hope so. We'll see what happens. And he was kind of my number one guy overall heading into the draft, and I was given that opportunity, so I had to go with him. I couldn't change it up.
He was the number 3 running back last year.
Yeah, I know he's up there.
Forget about DeMarco Murray.
So most of these teams are tentatively named Brett's Tip Top team. I'm hoping Retro can think of a better team name than that.
Yeah, he's got a couple days.
So you are, you are the Save a Kid Slapaho.
Yeah.
Okay, you gonna change that up, or?
I might stick with it. We'll see.
At least gotta come up with a logo. You know.
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I'll have a solid logo for that.
Looks like a pretty good week 1 projection. We'll check out your team here. Mike, let's see. You are currently the, what is this? The ACL Avengers. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Is that a tentative name, or what's going on there?
As of right now, yes. I've had some bad luck in the past years with ACL injuries, so, we'll see.
Makes sense. All right. Looks like you'll be going against Fred Flintstone. Wow, that's going to be a tough matchup there, week 1. Let's go ahead and check out the draft results, guys, and let's see what happened. Do a quick little brief overview of the events. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. I hope you're all excited about fantasy football. K-Mac, try to maybe shout out some questions if anybody has any.
Right.
Throw them out anytime. If you guys have questions, feel free to just let us know. And we definitely will be bringing you fantasy coverage, especially week to week, as you prepare for your matchup. Mike, what's going on? I hear some background noise. Is the TV on back there, or everything straight in Trippy Mike HQ?
Yeah, trying to get everything figured out over here. I'll lower that so you guys aren't hearing that background.
Yes, please lower the damn TV or any background music. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. Like I said, number 1, I have Marshawn Lynch. It's tough. I feel like there's question mark for all 5 of the studs, but it was good to see in our league they went accordingly. I know you were a proponent for Le'Veon Bell. You passed on him. He went all the way to 5.
Yeah, I did, and my main reason is in this league here, there's only 10 teams. Don't want to run chance of starting off 0-2. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell, once he comes back, would probably be the best running back in the league. So might make it worth it to somebody later down the stretch, but I didn't want to fall a two game, down 2 games in the hole to start off with, because Le'Veon Bell is going to be a big part of that. And your number 1 pick is obviously somebody you want to have starting right off the bat. So.
Yeah, we got someone calling me out. What is that? It looks like Luis Vargas. Hopefully I can get that name right. Saying they do not like Marshawn Lynch. Of course, I'm going Lynch number 1 overall. I'd say the fact that he's been used so much in the past is one of the reasons why you might want to avoid him. But I mean, so has Adrian Peterson, even despite the year off. So is Jamal Charles. So is Eddie Lacy. Eddie Lacy has his own injury concerns. Le'Veon Bell. I mean, so you really can't even worry about that at this point in the game. You just got to hope for the best.
He's named Beast Mode for a reason. He's going to get all of his carries. He's not going to slow down. He's doing just fine. So, I mean, if you had a top 5 pick, you're going to get a good running back no matter what.
Yeah.
Feed me Skittles.
It was good to see everything went accordingly. Mike, it came to you. You, unfortunately, had the 10th overall pick, the last pick, so you had that wraparound.
Yeah.
You went Andrew Luck. I agree with that pick. K-Mac, you kind of seemed against that one.
Yeah, I'm against drafting quarterbacks this earlier. I mean, you did end up getting Demaryius Thomas on the wraparound, and obviously Andrew Luck's going to have a big season. I just feel there's other quarterbacks that are going to have somewhat decent seasons to go right up there with Andrew Luck that you could have waited 3 or 4 rounds later to actually draft. Because you kind of run risk of missing out on another elite player that you could have had here.
Mike, how do you feel you ended up with these picks?
I mean, I think Andrew Luck is right there up there with the elite running backs as far as fantasy points go, and I think he's capable of putting 20 plus, maybe even 30-point games every week this season, and that's why I drafted him at number 10, man.
Yeah, I know he's going to put up way more points than anybody else in the league. He'll probably be your scoring leader for the season. All quarterbacks are, but if you look at the drop-off in the quarterbacks and the drop-off in, say running backs or receivers, it's much more drastic in the skill positions. Quarterbacks, I mean, you have probably about a good 5 to 6 quarterbacks who are all going to put up, a high amount of points every week for you.
Yeah, and really the main part of this decision here with Andrew Luck at pick 10 had to do with, the pick itself. I mean, I didn't really expect to get the last pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And when I was, set with that pick, I had to go to drastic measures, and I think drafting a number 1 quarterback is one of those things you got to do in one of those positions.
Yeah, and everybody knows, of course, with the Rodgers injury, that makes Andrew Luck by far, or not
Nelson.
The Rodgers injuries, but the Nelson injury, which hurts Rodgers quite a bit. That puts Luck easily number 1 overall when it comes to quarterbacks. So Mike grabs him and Demaryius Thomas. I know Mike was contemplating C.J. Anderson. We'll see how that plays out. So you ended up getting Odell Beckham Jr. Interesting how there was a line of running backs. I knew Aaron Rodgers would go high in our draft.
Yeah.
Beckham, who I feel is a first-round talent, possibly over Julio Jones here. So he falls down to you. You had no choice.
Yeah, it fell all the way down to the 18th pick, which I wasn't expecting to have happen. So obviously with him available, I mean, I had to either choose between him or A.J. Green at this point. And I just felt that I couldn't pass up on, like a first-round talent.
Yeah, you had to make the pick. Now, I was really wondering, because I knew I had to get a wide receiver here. I forced myself to get a guy that I can call a legit number 1. I was thinking I might be forced to get A.J. Green, who I've been a fan of in the past. Not really this year, but his upside, you got to get him. Yeah. He's taken, which makes my decision pretty easy. I went with Randall Cobb, who I feel a little bit, I mean, you have T.Y., a couple other guys, Jordan Matthews, who have that upside, but Randall Cobb with Jordy Nelson injured, he's probably the safe guy. I like to go with the safe pick there.
He's going to get a lot more targets this year, and that's all that guy needs, because when he catches the ball, he does most of his magic after the catch, so more targets going his way is going to definitely increase his value.
Yeah, so a little bit forced to make that pick like you were with Odell Beckham, and that's how I felt the theme from my end was forced to make a lot of these picks. LaShawn McCoy, I really had to go with an upside guy here. Jimmy Graham's always tempting. Of course, T.Y. Hilton, you grabbed. I really like T.Y.
Yeah, I wanted Jimmy Graham, but I was hoping that, with having to pick Odell Beckham at 8, that Jimmy Graham was going to slip to me. Of course, he got taken right before my pick.
So, so I went with LaShawn McCoy, hoping to get a really solid number 2 running back there for myself. You go T.Y. Hilton to match up with Odell Beckham, so you're trying to solidify a really legit 1-2 punch at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking, and I was like, well, there's not really a elite running back anymore. I think T.Y. Hilton is still borderline, one of those elite receivers, can put up those kind of numbers. So I had to take T.Y. Hilton there and hope that I could, scrounge up some running back, a number 2 and a number 3.
Yeah,
later in the draft.
Mike, you were looking out for running backs, I know, and you had Lamar Miller go, then Frank Gore, then Justin Forsett. So boom, 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 right in a situation where you have yet to draft a running back. Yeah. So you went Alshon Jeffrey there to match up with your Demaryius Thomas, and you did get a running back, and that was Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram is what I ended up with as my number one running back. I don't know. I mean, I was a little worried at that point, so I decided to go with a lot of running backs there.
Yeah, well, Mark Ingram, so that's your number one. What did you think about Alshon Jeffrey? Was he just too high of an upside for you to pass up? I mean, you already had Demaryius Thomas, so rather than you go bam, bam, running back, you still get another receiver.
Yeah, I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is by far going to be a number one receiver. I couldn't pass that up, so I had to pull the trigger on him. And, that left me with, sort of the lower end one running backs. But Mark Ingram is, I think he's very capable of getting a lot of touchdowns this year.
You also have Mike Evans there, so I was surprised you passed on Mike Evans. You went Alshon instead. Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like, no more Brandon Marshall. I feel that's really going to help out Alshon and increase his touchdown numbers.
I love Alshon. Definitely, I think he's, number one overall kind of guy. We'll see what happens now that there is no more Brandon Marshall to take some of the heat off of him. So Melvin Gordon here, he went pretty high. A lot of players going high. You look up here, Lamar Miller, Frank Gore going in round 3. A lot of these running backs. It was a weird draft. Devontae Adams round 4 here. So this is where you made your play towards quarterback. I was thinking about quarterback here myself, but Peyton, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, bam, 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 all gone.
Yeah, and that's usually I always notice that in the draft. I'll see somebody draft, a quarterback, and then you'll kind of see that happen. People start going that way. So at this time, I still didn't have any running backs on my list that I really thought were legit contenders for the season. So I'm just going to fill in taking the best guy I felt at that time. Why not go with the number 3 quarterback from last year and then pick up Russell Wilson?
Yeah, and I wanted him as well. I was contemplating if I would get him. I kind of knew that you would go with him, but if you didn't get him, I had Marshawn, so would I put all my eggs in that Seahawk basket? Probably would, to be honest with you, but with all those quarterbacks going, I wanted Brady. I wish he would have fell further than round 4. That was a shame. But quarterbacks go, so I get Latavius Murray, a guy who I really liked as a number 2 running back for maybe, in an emergency situation. In this case, I get him as my number 3. Our league, we have a 10-team league. It is standard, but we do like to play kind of it's a different scenario. We have 2 flex spots. One is running back receiver. One's tight end wide receiver. So you can play 4 receivers. You can play 3 running backs. You can play 2 tight ends. It really mixes it up. I think should be standard, but that's just us. That's a Trippy league. So I decided to get Greg Olsen, of course, tight ends.
Yeah,
tough spot there.
You took the guy that I was going to take there as well. I wanted Greg Olsen to kind of round off my team with my tight ends, so he took him right before me.
So Mike, I know you also had to deal with the wraparound picks, which are tough, because you have to wait so long until you get another pick. What did you think about those backup or back-to-back picks for me there in that spot? 4-5. Those are tough rounds. Those are the last money players before you get into some question marks. So I decided to go Latavius Murray and Greg Olsen. So I go with running back, a 3rd running back, and the starting tight end.
Well, the pick I really like there is Greg Olsen. I mean, Greg Olsen, I think he has the capability of putting up wide receiver style numbers this year with no question. I mean, even possibly wide receiver 1 numbers. So
interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all pretty much think that due to the loss of Kelvin Benjamin. We'll see what happens there. That's going to be an interesting team. I love the Panthers before that injury. Now, once again, they're going to have to muscle their way to success, which they should have in their division. Yep. So, let's see. Amir Abdullah for you. Yeah. Did you stretch for him, you think?
Maybe a little bit. I don't think I would have been able to get him again on my next pick, so that's why I kind of went with him as a guy that he's not going to be a guy that I'm going to be starting in my lineup right off the bat, but he is a guy that I think is going to be explosive this year and is eventually going to take over all running back duties in Detroit. So he's definitely a guy that I'm excited about, but not a guy that I'm looking to have big numbers right off the bat.
Yeah. He came from, Nebraska?
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely going to be a hard-nosed running back. Once they give him the job, they still probably are loyal to Joik Bell. We'll see what happens there. Golden Tate, that's a good wide receiver going pretty late here. Roethlisberger, another good quarterback. So at this point, I was like, fuck, all the quarterbacks. You have Tannehill going here. Carlos Hyde, I feel that's high from our boy Corey there. Alfred Morris always going to go somewhat high here. I'm going to stay away from him. Ellington. Mike,
Me too.
Back to you here. Back-to-back running backs. So you make the move on Arian Foster here in round 6, and before that you went Jonathan Stewart. I didn't see you drafting him. That wasn't a player I thought you were going to get.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get Stewart myself, but I had to pull the trigger on him right there. I needed a solid number 2 running back, and I figured he's going to fit that spot well. I mean, no more D'Angelo Williams, so that's definitely a big help there. And, their passing game is going to be obsolete this year, so I had to get him. And then, Arian Foster was a guy I had my eyes on, and I had to take him right there because I knew people were looking at him. All the running backs were starting to go, and I just knew people had their eye on him.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be returning here in October now, so...
Yeah.
Marty B goes right after that. I know both you guys were lacking a tight end at this point, so you start to see these guys. Amari Cooper, I really wanted him this year, but I had drafted Latavius Murray. It just wasn't in the cards for me to get him. That's unfortunate. Doug Martin falling in our draft here. Travis Kelce, this was a guy that you wanted. I remember you were pissed off when he was drafted right before you.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little more pissed off about Marty B. I thought Martellus Bennett was going to fall to me. I was really surprised that Brett actually picked him. He was the guy that I wanted to go with this year. I didn't really want Kelce because I have Jamal Charles. I didn't want to go with the 2 Kansas City guys. I mean, I would have taken Kelce if it came down to it, but really think I got lucky here in round 6 with the 8th pick here with Chris Ivory. I think he's a guy that I'm going to be starting right off the bat. He's going to be getting a lot of carries this year along his goal line work. And you want to talk about, Mike, an obsolete passing game, that's going to be New York, and Chris Ivory is going to hopefully benefit from that.
Interesting. Well, because I know you wanted to go Chris Ivory, so I'm trying to look at other running backs. I mean, here's an interesting choice. Joseph Randall. You go Chris Ivory over Joseph Randall. I noticed that. And you were kind of high on Randall earlier on in the the fantasy.
I was
preseason.
until preseason started, and really Randall was not performing very well. I actually saw Darren McFadden look a lot better than any of the running backs there in Dallas. But you still got the whole committee thing. I hate that. I've been burned by that many times in the past. Really tried to stay away from any committee stuff. I did get Abdullah, who I think will take over. I don't think it's going to be committee once he establishes himself as the best running back. But yeah, just trying to go for guys who are number 1. They're going to be getting all the carries, and you got to worry about anybody handcuffing you.
3 down back. They still like Bilal Powell for whatever reason. But I think that'll probably be like 3rd and long scenarios.
Yeah, that's going to be, exactly. Just kind of scat back type stuff for him. So
Vincent Jackson goes here. Now, here's my situation. I really wanted to get 2 powerhouse receivers like the 2 of you guys have.
Yeah.
Mike ended up with Demaryius Thomas and Alshon Jeffrey. Those are 2 wide receiver 1 guys. Same with you, Odell Beckham and who'd you get? T.Y. Hilton. Yeah. So I at this point I have Randall Cobb, who I like, but I didn't get that number 2. Sammy Watkins is a guy I really wanted on my team. I want him as a number 3, so I have to rely on him as a number 2. Hopefully he can pay off along with now he's starting with Tyrod Taylor. See how that works out. I have him and LaShawn McCoy. Unfortunately, I have 2 Bills. Got to hope for the best there. We have an IDP league where we play some defensive positions. I feel like it really adds defense into the fantasy mix, and I highly recommend it for hardcore football fans. J.J. Watt, in my opinion, is by far and away the best defensive player, so I decided to stretch and go with him before anybody else could really think about defense. So round 7 is when I made the move there.
Yeah, I was interested to see that going J.J. Watt in round 7, man. And I thought it was going to be a little bit later until someone finally, reached out and went defense. So, but I mean, it's kind of hard to pass up on this guy. I was thinking about doing it myself. Maybe not in round 7, but definitely coming very soon at this point.
Is that you think the number 1 defensive player?
For picking him there because I was going to get him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's going to have to get a lot more tackles now. As far as, turnovers, touchdowns, all that stuff, he's going to have that stuff. But he's going to kind of lack the tackles that a linebacker would get as far as points are concerned. Yeah. But as far as a DN, yes, by far the best.
Too bad he's not defensive tackle still. Remember that? He'd be the most. Oh man, he'd almost be like a top 5 round pick.
I wish they'd put him at tight end. I'd probably use him at tight end.
That's true. So, like I said, Joseph Randle gets drafted here. I know they picked up Christian Michael from the Seahawks. That's a crazy situation. So you go Jeremy Maclin. This is your number 3 receiver, right?
Yeah, this is the guy that I've been talking about for a while. He's been so buried in these leagues, and luckily I was still able to scoop him up here around 7. He's going to be guys because that's going to be one of my starting receivers. I'm going to have 3, main starting receivers. He's going to be one of them. I expect big things from him. Only problem is he does play for Kansas City, so now I have 2 players on my team that both play for Kansas City.
Jamal Charles.
Yeah, when you're talking about Jamal Charles, who anybody wants to own, and then a guy like Maclin last year, everybody wanted Maclin. So I see a lot of that continuing this year with him.
Jeez, that's pretty crazy stuff. So let's go ahead and I do like Jeremy Maclin. It's going to be interesting to see because you downgrade him from the Alex Smith scenario, but you also upgrade him from the fact that Andy Reid's extremely, he knows how to use Jeremy Maclin more than a Dwayne Bowe or some of these other jabrones.
Andy Reid is actually the one who was big in drafting, drafting Maclin when he was with the Eagles.
So Mikey, comes back down to you. You go with LeGarrette Blount and Jason Witten. These were 2. I was surprised you made both picks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I needed a solid tight end there, so I went with Jason Witten, and I was still thinking running back, and I figured LeGarrette Blount only out 1 week, suspended for doing a little smoky. So,
Shocker.
Riding around with the bell.
Yeah, Blunt smoking a blunt. Wow. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, man. So, hit the blunt. Why not?
So, Jason Witten is your starting tight end this year, man.
Yeah, he is. We'll see.
Yeah, if you didn't take him, I probably would have taken him because I was looking to go tight end around 8 as well.
And he reminds me of one of those tight ends that's like slightly above average each year. So
he's just pretty consistent. He's gonna put up, a decent amount of yards and he's gonna have some touchdowns. So
yeah.
So this round 7 was probably the most interesting round in the draft for me because a lot of these guys I really like. Of course, I had to go J.J. Watt. Joseph Randle, that's late for him. Jeremy Maclin, I like a lot going to you as a wide receiver 3. That's pretty nice. Of course, Brandon Marshall for the value. Can't really complain too much there. John Brown, I know, Mike, you ended up getting Fitzgerald, but I think John Brown might be the number 1 there. I was looking at a lot of depth charts. They still have him as number 3. Yeah. Julian Edelman, why is he going so late? That's crazy. I love Jarvis Landry this year. I think he's the number 1 target there by far.
Oh, yeah.
TJ Yeldon I love this year. Mike Wallace, not too big of a fan, but round 7, what can you say? And Mike, you ended up getting LeGarrette Blount, just trying to solidify a decent running back there as you were in a little bit of a hole in that position. So a lot of quarterbacks going there.
I had my eyes on Edelman if he fell down to me, but he did not, so...
Yeah, me too, man. Any one of these guys, it's just too bad I had to wait such a long time. And right after I made my Watt pick, a lot of my guys just went right off the board. Matt Ryan, these emergency quarterbacks. Of course, I still need a quarterback. Kyle, you still needed a tight end, and you finally made the move here in round 8. After Mike went Jason Witten. I mean, were you thinking about going Witten at all? Because you ended up going Eifert.
That's what I was just saying. If Mike didn't pick Witten, that's who I was going to go because I was looking for tight end in this exact same round. So once he was gone, I had Eifert. I could have went Jordan Cameron. He was still available on the board, but Jordan Cameron hasn't looked right in the past couple seasons. I just can't really put my trust in that. Tyler Eifert, there's been a lot of good things mentioned about him so far this season. He is supposed to be the number 2 target now in Cincinnati there. So given all that, I'll give him another chance. I did draft Tyler Eifert 2 years ago, his rookie season. I had high hopes for him, and he let me down. So maybe he can redeem himself on my fantasy value list.
So there you have it. He's going to use Tyler Eifert as his number 1 tight end. Kind of scary, but all reports so far, I mean, they're saying he's uncoverable. we'll see what happens. You said you were going to avoid the Bengals. You go with the tight end.
I was trying to, but I guess I got a Bengal again.
That's not a bad, emergency tight end valve here. All right, Deshaun Jackson. I come back here. Eli Manning, that's the quarterback I go with. I was contemplating Eli or Tony Romo, but I just really like Eli. I've been talking about him in the offseason. I really didn't want to end up with him. I was hoping to get one of the easier guys to go with, like, obviously Aaron Rodgers or something, but got to go with Eli, so I got to put my money where my mouth is in his upside. See what happens. It's scary.
His upside is Odell Beckham Jr.
I was thinking with Todd Gurley, I decided to go with Gurley because I already had 3 starting running backs. I have Latavius Murray, I have Beast Mode Marshawn Lynch, and LaShawn McCoy. So I figured it would be safe to go with a high upside guy because if he doesn't come back,
he's a project back.
Yeah, it doesn't really hurt me too much, and I had a feeling I'd be able to get Trey Mason later on.
Yep.
So you end up going C.J. Mosley over Levante David.
I did go over Levante David. Obviously, I'm a huge Levante David fan. I just really like C.J. Mosley a lot. I had him last year, and I just think that Ravens defense is going to be really good this year, led by him, and he gets a ton of tackles. So that's what I look for. That's what I look into. When I'm getting defensive players, man, I'm all about how many tackles. Are they the guy that produces a lot of tackles? Because that's where all your points are going to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby Wagner going off the board here. So it comes back to you, Mike.
Linebackers started flying off the board at this point.
Linebackers were going off. You have Joyke Bell. Ooh, K-Mac, you could have went Joyke Bell here and kind of monopolized that Detroit backfield. But nonetheless, Mike,
I'm not really a fan of Joyke Bell. That's why. I don't even want to touch him.
Mike, you ignore defense altogether and go Larry Fitzgerald and C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, I saw him out there as probably the only legit receiver left, so I had to go with him. And C.J. Spiller, he's a great handcuff. To Ingram, I had to get him. So
yeah, of course, Ingram, you're number 1. Let's see here. Clay Matthews going right after. Okay. A lot of defensive players started going, so we'll probably finish off our recap. After this, we were kind of grabbing the offensive players we could. I don't know why people were going for defense this early. I still needed position players here. Anquan Bolden, my number 3 wide receiver overall. Thank goodness, because that kind of bailed me out. I'm not a huge fan of him, but number 3, I think he could work out. I couple him up with Aguilar, another guy I really didn't envision drafting, but at this stage of the game, they're the highest upside wide receivers I was going to find.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have taken Aguilar there, I would have. But I got my boy Charles Johnson from Minnesota, who I think will be the number 1 receiver in Minnesota, so happy to get him here in round 11.
Yeah, more defensive players off the board.
I don't mean to change the subject a little bit here, but I'm looking at the chat, and everybody's talking about baseball, man. And actually, one of our fans here looks like he knows we're all Rays fans, and he knows Rasto is a Cubs fan.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, unfortunately, doesn't look good for the old Rays. I think we'll be back next year, but we just need some power hitters, man. The Cubs, on the other hand, they look set up for a World Series run. They're going to have to win that play-in game, but if they can do that, I think they're completely set up. See if Joe Madden can do some magic.
I think if they can get Jorge Soler back, hitting the ball the way he should be, they could be beastly.
Absolutely, man. They got all kinds of players that, of course, Rizzo, Chris Bryant, they're just stacked right now. So let's go ahead and finish off the recap here. Mike going Kiko Alonso and Ryan Matthews. Mike finally going with your first defensive player. So it's Kiko Alonso. Interesting pick for your first guy.
Oh, absolutely. it was sort of a, spur of the moment pick. I really didn't know who to get, but I saw his name there, and I'm like, what? Why not? So
Mike's all about those spur of the moment picks. Kyle, you decided to go with one of the best safeties in the league there, Harrison Smith.
Yeah, everyone started going defense, so I was like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to have a season where I'm scrounging around for defensive players." So I just started solidifying each one of my main defensive positions.
Now here's 2 picks that I really liked. Felt like both these guys fell to me. Isaiah Crowell, who right now is overall easily the number one running back in Cleveland. I don't know.
For what that's worth.
Yeah, exactly. But I figured as a backup, might as well grab him. And, of course, I wanted Trey Mason because I had Gurley. So I feel like last year running back kind of pissed me off in some areas. I had to trade Gronkowski to replenish my running back. And this year I tried to get as many running backs, especially backups, as possible. Back to you, get a legit defensive end, Chandler Jones for the Patriots.
Yeah, a guy that unfortunately got injured last year. I had him last year, but he got hurt. When that guy's healthy, he's always one of the better defensive ends in the league.
Mike, Davian Clowney and Mario Williams.
Now the Clowney thing, Mike. I know you were thinking that he was going to be listed as D end on the game on Yahoo, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Realized that right after you drafted it, they listed him as a linebacker.
Yeah, if that was the case, if he was a lineman, I think that would have been a great pick. But
wait, they got J.J. Watt listed as a D end, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's bullshit. They need to put Clowney as the same thing.
It's really kind of odd how they do it.
Yeah, they screwed that up, unfortunately.
All right, so let's take a look at Kyle's team real quick here first before we go into some recent fantasy news. So you end up with Russell Wilson, last year's overall number 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham and T.Y. So you got a really legit, both I think are wide receiver 1s, upper echelon quarterback 1. Jamal Charles, of course, the question mark comes in at running back 2, but I think we're all used to having question marks at running back 2. That seems to always be a question mark each and every year.
Yeah, I have plenty of confidence in Chris Ivory.
It's a guy you were touting coming into it, and it's always good to get those guys because at least you feel good about them. Tyler Eifert,
he's my question mark. My tight ends, I also have Zach Ertz, who I think once he becomes fully healthy is going to be used a lot in that Philly offense. And then ASJ, which is our tight end here from Tampa Bay, that, if they can get it going with that guy, he's going to be unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. I have some question marks in your wide receivers, but I really like Ruben Randall down here all the way at the bottom of your bench. Mike, what do you think about Kyle's offense here?
I think his offense is extremely solid, man. It's really beastly. I like what he did with it, man.
I know you were a fan of Eifert yourself, so you really can't hate on that.
Yeah, I've got Eifert in 14-team league we did. So, I hope he does good this year.
Kyle going with Dan Bailey, who was pretty good last season. We'll see if he continues that.
Yeah, he's got like 26 straight field goals that he's made, so he's pretty consistent. Dallas likes to score a lot, too.
I think he got a steal in Odell Beckham Jr. and Jamal Charles, obviously, is going to be good. And Jeremy Maclin, I think that's a solid pick. Yeah, man, your team's looking solid.
Yeah, you got to feel good to have Jamal Charles for the first time.
Yeah, being a big Texas Longhorn fan, having one of our better running backs to come out of our college in a while, to be on my fantasy team is always nice.
I'd like to trade you for Russell Wilson, man. He's my favorite player in the league, and last 2 seasons you jumped the gun on him.
Let the trade talk
to grab
begin.
him from me. Yeah, it didn't work out last season.
We might
so
trade
I'm not
eventually
even
by like the 10th week of the season.
Yeah. So I know you said you were happy about your defense.
Yeah, I feel it's one of my better defenses I've had in a long time. I feel confident every guy at every position put up a lot of points.
Yeah, looks pretty solid to me. I like your linebackers there. All right, Mike, we are going to your squad. So ACL Avengers, still thinking about a name. We need a logo from you. We need an official Trippy look here.
Yeah, I'll have to work on something, man. I don't know. Maybe one of our fans can recommend a team name.
Oh, if you guys have a team name for Mike, please let us know.
Season starts Thursday, Mike. Better get on it.
Yeah. In fact, I'll make a post telling people, hey, get your Trippy team names ready. We need a tight logo out of everybody, or at least a passable logo. So anyways, Mike, Andrew Luck, it's got to feel good to have that really solid quarterback number 1 there, Demaryius Thomas and Alshon Jeffrey. Let's check the Alshon Jeffrey update here, thanks to Yahoo. All right, so it says the Bears are prohibiting Alshon Jeffrey from speaking to reporters. Uh-oh, that's never a good thing. We're on pins and needles to see how many extra wins the 2015 Bears will earn by being so secretive. Not news you probably like to hear Mike. We'll see. His week 1 status is seriously in question. So, at least you'll have him eventually, but you might not have him week 1. But to continue on, you have Ingram, Jonathan Stewart. I think that's definitely a legit 1-2, especially considering Jay Stu's got the Jags. Jason Witten, we'll see how he does. You have to start Fitzgerald, and wow, your other flex spots. So far, you have Devontae Freeman, also a question mark. Can't use LeGarrette Blount, so are you worried here?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough couple first weeks, but we'll see what happens. I think I'll be able to work it out somehow.
What do you think about Mike's offense here, Cam?
I like it a lot, man. I mean, obviously, Alshon Jeffrey's going to get healthy. He's going to put up a lot of points for you. So I think you do have 2 legit main receivers there. I do like Mark Ingram a lot this year. I don't know if I'd be too comfortable with him being my number 1 guy that I'm going to rely on every week, but I do like Mark Ingram. We saw at the end of last year, he's starting to put up some pretty good amount of points. And, man, that Arian Foster pick that you got, I think that's really going to pay off for you. Come October when he comes back and is healthy and is taking over, that's really going to help, jumpstart your team and then kind of take you maybe into the second half as kind of have, a really legit team. Because really, when Arian Foster comes back, he will be your number 1 running back.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I drafted him for, to be my number 1. When he does come back. And, I was reading reports that he is going to come back a little earlier than normal, which he's been known for before. Hopefully he just doesn't re-injure himself, which he's also known for. So,
definitely a risky pick, but it's something I think will pay off for you. And you got Ryan Matthews too, man. I mean, we got to remember DeMarco Murray, except for last season, has gotten injured in every season that he's played in. So as soon as DeMarco Murray goes down, you're going to have Ryan Matthews right there that you can throw in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's see here. Perhaps Alshon doesn't play. That means you're going to have to move Larry Fitz to your number 2 receiver. That's a little bit worrisome. Perhaps Devontae Freeman doesn't play. You can't use LeGarrette Blount. You can't use Arian Foster, of course. You don't want to start C.J. Spiller. I mean, you might have to, I guess. Ryan Matthews, Devin Funchess, they're saying is not the starter. So you could have some serious issues from the flex perspective for week 1, Mikey. This is something you got to be aware of.
Absolutely, could run into some issues, but I will be prepared. I have some things in the works, so we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, definitely going to be interesting to see what happens week 1. Let's look at Mike's defense here. Of course, Steven Hauschka, your kicker, Mike. Not too shabby. Eric Berry, we'll see. He's a cancer survivor. See what his role is. Mike Adams, Mario Williams, Jason Pierre-Paul. You might want to switch out your defensive lineman there. Pierre-Paul, last we heard, he blew off half of his hand. I don't think he'll be playing week 1. Maybe he will be, I don't know. Kiko Alonso, Jadeveon Clowney. Mike, you got some work to do on defense. I do like your cornerback, Casey Hayward.
Yeah, I definitely have some work to do. I think that one pick with Jadeveon Clowney screwed me over a little bit, not knowing he's only a linebacker. But, I'll have to switch up my linebacker position there probably, and maybe change up Pierre-Paul if he... I did hear that he might play with a cast. So that would be possibly an advantage for him.
All right, so definitely got some work to do on defense, Mike. I feel like sometimes you've kind of undervalued defense going into these drafts, and you kind of have to work on it each and every year. So we'll see what you can do. Obviously, there'll be players available for you to pick up during the season.
Yeah, I think that's one of my specialties with these IDP leagues is getting those solid defensive players throughout the year.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. Well, before we get to my team, of course, Fireball, Skittle Beast here. Let's go ahead and check out the defending champion inflated balls matter. He beat me in the championship game last year.
He did.
And I thought he had a pretty interesting draft. He seemed to pretty much pick a lot of this, like kind of go out of his way to pick some of the more safer players, I think you'd call them.
Yeah, well, he went in. He had the number 2 pick in the draft, right in between me and you. And yeah, I think he really did a good job with, obviously he went Adrian Peterson, with the number 2 pick, going with the child abuser there for his second pick to lead his team.
Surprising. I thought he was going to go with Jamal.
Yeah, but I mean, ended up with a good draft. You got Adrian Peterson, AJ Green, who are both studs. Tom Brady, I'm sure, is going to have a great season. Scooped up Jimmy Graham as well. Andre Johnson's a guy I've been talking about, who I think is going to have a great season with the Colts there now. So I mean, his team looks pretty good. I mean, we got to check out the defense. I'm not sure what his defense is looking like, but
let's scroll down to the D.
Eric Weddle, very solid. DeMarcus Ware now has that defensive end eligibility, which is always good.
That's interesting. I mean, can't
going
complain.
with the old man, DeQuell Jackson, huh?
Yeah, he did fine last year. Mike, what do you think about Mark's offense trying to defend the championship? He's going with Tom Brady at quarterback, AJ Green and Andre Johnson, Adrian Peterson. Here's a scary number 2 running back, Joseph Randle. He does have a little Jimmy Graham, Vincent Jackson, and Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
The twins there.
Yeah, I think he'll be having to throw somebody else in that Joseph Randle spot.
And to be honest with you, I don't like his depth at all. What do you think here, Mike? I mean, he's got the studs to keep him afloat. I just don't like his depth right now.
Yeah, he's got a few studs there, definitely to keep him afloat. Jimmy Graham, for sure, AP, and AJ Green. Tom Brady. Maybe Tom Brady will get suspended later in the season. Who knows?
Oh, no, he's just got to go to federal court, and that's never going to happen. So he's got, like, immunity now. He can't touch Tom Brady now.
Can't touch this.
But, yeah, he's going to be struggling for running backs. So he's got Chris Johnson there, so I guess he can hope that Ellington gets hurt and Chris Johnson can find a way to move his way up in that number 1 slot there in Arizona. But, yeah, come bye weeks, he's going to be hoping he can pick up some running backs from between now and then.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph Randle, we'll see what happens with that.
I've been hearing some bad stuff about him lately, so I don't know, man.
He just went to court. So, once again, Tom Brady, AJ Green, Andre Johnson out the Colts. It's hard to really complain, too much about that as long as the guys stay healthy. We also wanted to go over Nick's team. What's Nick's team be? 12 years of switch?
Yeah, 12 years of switch.
I felt like he had a good draft. He swooped in there on a lot of players I like. So let's see what he ended up with. All right, Peyton Manning at quarterback. Can't really complain there.
No.
Manuel Sanders is number 1. Golden Tate is number 2. Not the best, but then again, both those guys were plenty worthy last year.
Yeah, definitely feasible receivers to have. But his running back, he might have the best running back combination in the league this year. Eddie Lacy and DeMarco Murray. That's pretty. That's 2 studs right there to have a running back.
Absolutely. Travis Kelce, guy you kind of liked.
Yeah, picked up Travis Kelce, as well as went with Brandon Marshall. It's going to be an interesting pick there with Brandon Marshall. Obviously, the guy's talented, but I don't know who's going to be throwing to him. So it might be a tough season for Brandon Marshall this year. I did like Kendall Wright. He actually scooped Kendall Wright. He drafted right after me in the draft, and he actually, on the comeback, swooped Kendall Wright pretty late in the draft, right out in front of him. I had him set up on my queue to draft him, and he picked him. But Kendall Wright, I'm surprised how far he fell in the draft. He's the number 1 receiver there in Tennessee for what that's worth, but he will get the most targets. And from what I've heard, him and Mariota seem to be getting along pretty good on the field and have pretty good chemistry so far. So a guy like Kendall Wright could end up blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a really good bench as well here.
Yeah.
Decent team. If you're not a big fan of Travis Kelce, here's a money pick. Antonio Gates, who really was a beast last year.
He's got some guys here waiting to come back from suspensions. You got Martavis Bryant, who'll be back for Week 5.
Yeah.
You got
Sam Bradford definitely looks like a major sleeper here. I'm not too big of a fan of his flexes here.
Yeah, so maybe Mark and Nick might want to try to do a trade here. Mark might want to try to pick up that McFadden. Everything I've seen so far, McFadden seems to be the best looking running back out of the 3 there in Dallas. It's still going to be committee, so it's still going to be kind of a shitty situation anyway. But If McFadden can stay healthy, he's a guy that can definitely put up some points because of his speed. But we haven't seen that in a long time. I think he had one good season with Oakland. Since then, he really can't trust them.
Wow, look at this. Robinson reports the Cowboys believe McFadden is the best of the bunch. Wow, that could be... Talk about a super sleeper. We'll see what happens there in Dallas. They have a really beast offensive line. So, Mike, what do you think about Nick's team here? You have his quarterback, Peyton Manning, along with Emmanuel Sanders, Golden Tate, running back duo, Eddie Lacy, DeMarco Murray. That's solid. Travis Kelce, and then Brandon Marshall and Kendall Wright as his flex starters as of right now.
Definitely got an interesting team there. Definitely a competitive team. Definitely a team to worry about during the year.
Decent defense as well, including Levante David. All right, so let's go ahead and finish off the first look of our fantasy league, as we'll be definitely keeping an eye on this one. Let's check out my team, the only properly named team so far. As you guys, I'm interested to see what logos and whatnot you can come out with. I will be the Fireball Skittle Beast. Here's the...
Already got that waiver claim in, huh?
Oh, no. Hopefully you guys... well, I do... Whatever. You guys all are happy at linebacker. Alright, so there you have it. There is my logo. Marshawn Lynch showing. Let's go ahead. Alright, so... In case, clear out the waiver in case...
Yeah.
Alright, so here it is. I'm going with Eli Manning. I like him. Season 2 under Ben McAdoo, of course. Having Odell Beckham Jr., not that bad to throw to.
And the return of Victor Cruz, man.
Yeah, and Ruben Randall I'm high on as well. Randall Cobb going with as my number 1. Sammy Watkins, hopefully he can do well with new quarterback Tyrod Taylor. Marshawn Lynch, LaShawn McCoy, Greg Olsen, and then I'm going Anquan Bolden and Latavius Murray with my flexes. I do like my depth as well. For some reason, if LaShawn McCoy doesn't play, we'll see. I have a question mark there. I probably will be forced to play. I guess I'll move Murray up, and I might have to go Aguilar in there at flex. Possibly. I really like my Colts tight ends. I feel like those guys are going to catch touchdowns. I don't know. Hopefully I don't have to deal with that, to be perfectly honest.
I think you'll be fine. We know Rex Ryan's going to run the shit out of LaShawn McCoy when he's healthy. That's kind of their style of play. That's kind of always been his style of play. Really run the ball, have good defense. So I do like LaShawn McCoy in Buffalo, but we'll see if he can get himself healthier. And if that happens, you really got 3 pretty solid running backs. Latavius Murray, I'm still have a few question marks about just because we really haven't seen a lot of him. We've seen maybe 2 really good games from him, and then he got hurt. So we know that the talent's there. We know this guy can play. Just how well can he hold up on the whole season? And he's in kind of a bad offense there in Oakland. So an offense that's getting better. There's some hope there for Oakland fans. Offense is definitely getting better. Amari Cooper obviously is a huge signing. I still like Carr, but having Murray. Kind of, at this point, it's hard to say what kind of season he's going to have. Definitely a skill to have to be a really good running back, though.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So, Mike, what do you think about my starting offense here?
Pretty damn solid, man. That's what happens when you get the first pick overall.
Yeah, it definitely helps that. But, it's also hard, as far as getting those back-to-back picks. That could definitely change it up quite a bit. The one thing I'm very, very worried about for my team is my wide receiver position here. Don't have much depth at all. After my 3rd wide receiver, I have one more guy who's a complete sleeper as far as I'm concerned, a rookie number 2 receiver for the Eagles. And, after that, I don't even have another receiver. Defense, I have J.J. Watt, a bunch of other solid guys. I feel like Curtis Lofton had a good team or a good season last year, but he's on a new team in Oakland. We'll see. It looks like he does have the same role, so shouldn't be too worried about that. So, there you have it. There's my team. Any last words on the fantasy season this year, Mikey?
I hope it's a fun one, you guys, and hopefully I can make the playoffs.
That'd be a first. Trey Mason game time decision. I don't look to start him against the Seahawks.
No, I wouldn't
What do
either.
you think about Trey Mason this year?
I
mean,
like Trey Mason a lot. I think he's a guy that's kind of been overlooked. I hope that St. Louis is really going to use him because he's a really talented running back, and they just like to mix it up. And now you have Gurley that's going to come in after about week 6. That's definitely going to hurt him. But up until that point, man, they need to use him. They need to use him a lot.
Yeah. Mike, we got a Arian Foster update as you're ruffling something over on your end, damn you. Here we go.
Eating that candy again.
Adam Schefter reports that Arian Foster could return in 4 weeks, but that he may be sidelined 6 or more. So, interesting situation for you. Looks like you might have to hold on to him for 6 weeks of your season. That's going to be a little bit of a handcuff for you.
Yeah, it will, but I mean, 6 weeks is definitely, a solid time to have a number 1 running back come into your lineup.
I'm hoping to have the same exact scenario with Todd Gurley. I'm hoping 6 weeks, something like that.
You got quite a bit of guys who are banged up right now, so we gotta watch out for that.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Marquise Lee, mainstay today. Billy Cundiff looking for work. Jadeveon Clowney will be active for week 1. Mike, big news. Are you going to ride out with him just to see what happens?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it'd be hard to start him with that linebacker spot.
Robert Mathis, after getting suspended for juicing. Monty Ball. I could see him going to Cleveland. Perhaps.
That's crazy, yeah.
The Falcons are
and-
interested in him.
Yes, the Falcons have reported they're interested in him. That's interesting. Obviously, we know the Falcons need a running back, so yeah, that'd be interesting.
Bishop Sankey. We thought that he could be a sleeper. They picked up Terrence West, and that just took away any optimism we had about Sankey.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be the established lead guy to begin with, so he just really has not gotten to that point yet. Will it happen? Yeah, maybe a couple more seasons. I think Sankey will be a good running back in the NFL, but it's not happening yet. Oh, and Mike's guy up there, Pierre Paul, and he knew...
Pierre Paul reported to the team on Monday and is, quote, ready to play, Mike. Interesting.
Oh, yeah, baby.
He's working out hard and tough.
Cast. He's going to have that cast, and he's going to be knocking people out, getting sacks.
Do you think he's got an advantage with less fingers now, Mike?
What's that?
Do you think he has an advantage with less fingers now? With the club?
I think he has an advantage with the club.
We'll see what happens. Mike Evans was held out of Bucs practice. That's not a good sign at all. We'll monitor that situation going forward. Corey Brown, the number 1 overall wide receiver. I'll tell you what, he's going to be a free agent in pretty much every league.
Yep, he is. See how he can pull it off. You got the old man Gerald Kotcher in there fighting for that position as well. So,
wow,
not looking good, unfortunately, for Carolina fans at the receiver position. Maybe Devin Funchess will be able to emerge and be your guys' number 1 receiver this year.
Here's
an RJ, you been trying to hook up with Russian women on there?
Love Russian women.
Man, is it that easy?
Here's how to do it right there.
$10,000.
So we have Gerald Hodges for you in IDP leagues. Eric Hendricks is a future beast, but Gerald Hodges starting off as the starter. Charles Tillman. Okay, Devin Funchess. Mike, a guy I know you drafted. They made it clear Monday he is yet to earn a starting job.
Yeah, he has yet to earn a starting job. We'll see what happens. I think they're just holding back on him, trying to not get his ego boosted a little bit.
Well, he kind of had a late start to training camp and everything. He's kind of been nursing a hamstring injury, so apparently he's good to go as of now, and they're going to definitely start incorporating him more in the offense. He just kind of got screwed there with having the injury right off the beginning of training camp.
Right.
Alshon Jeffrey. The Bears are prohibiting Alshon Jeffrey from speaking to reporters this week. Mike, are you worried about this this scenario you have with your number 2 wide receiver?
No, I'm really not worried. I think he's just got something lingering, and maybe they'll keep him out late week 1 or keep him limited. But I think he's going to be a number one wide receiver regardless.
Yeah, but what about all this stuff where they're trying to keep it hush? I mean, what if it comes on a Sunday and you don't even know if Alshon Jeffrey's starting or not?
It's John Fox, man. He's a son of a bitch.
Exactly. Yeah, at least it's not Belichick. Belichick's probably the worst with that, man. You're like, is my player starting? It's the only person not showing on this if he's actually playing today or not. It's like you actually got to wait until the pregame at like 10 minutes before the game starts to see if your guy's on the field running around.
So apparently Josh Robinson is going to be the number 2 running back for the Colts.
That's interesting.
Considering Frank Gore is an old man, I mean, that's something we definitely have to monitor here.
It is interesting. Another rookie running back, man, that could end up having a starting role.
Very interesting. Robert Griffin III. Wow, I'm glad I don't have any Washington Redskins this year.
Yeah, I stayed clear from. I could have gotten Alfred Morris. I'll probably end up kicking myself for not doing it. But, yeah, I just can't trust anyone in that team right now.
Doug Martin is clearly ahead of Charles Sims on the depth chart. I think that was definitely apparent through the preseason.
Yeah, I'm looking for Doug Martin to bounce back this year.
So they still expect Joseph Randle to start the season as the Cowboys starting running back. That's a pretty tough situation.
It's really weird.
Here's your boy Zach Zenner. He's not expected to have a large offensive role.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, they really like Abdullah there, and Joique Bell's going out. Probably play 2 downs and get injured.
So there you have it. There's the latest news. Mike, you have some injury reports to be watching here. Alshon Jeffrey. This is a pretty interesting situation for Week 1. These teams got to let us know what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. They need to let us know what's going on. But you know how secretive some of these coaches are, and John Fox is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, of course. My boy Todd Gurley has his yellow no-contact jersey shedded. So that means there's nothing he can't do as far as on-field activity at this stage of his ACL recovery. He is out for Week 1. It's still going to be a while. Of course, he didn't go through any kind of preseason like the rest of the players. And we'll see how long it takes. I still think they have a good running back in Trey Mason, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle that.
I think they need to take their time. Like was mentioned in that article there about, they have Week 6 bye. I think that's kind of what they should shoot for. And really start putting him in, coming back in that Week 7. Give this guy, this guy is so young. Don't rush it. Don't run the risk of him getting injured again. Really let him get healed and slowly bring him into that offense. Because this is going to be a guy that's going to be a really good running back for St. Louis for a lot of time going forward. So,
yeah, we looked at Ahmad Bradshaw there. Apparently, he is a free agent, ready to go. Maybe you see him go with something like the Browns. The Browns only have 2 running backs at this time. So we'll see what happens there. Thanks again for joining us. We're very excited for the fantasy season. We'll bring you one more update before the season officially starts on Thursday. Of course, Wednesday we'll have our predictions. And hopefully we'll have Trippy Mike and Trippy K-Mac's official team name. I mean, we need something good from you guys. You better think of a good team name, Mike. Mike, are you there? Did we lose you?
Sorry about that. I'll come up with something, man.
And a damn good logo as well. Are you excited about your team, Mike? I mean,
I definitely am, and I'm ready to kick your asses.
So do you think this is the year that the Cuban curse will not strike your team?
Well, I'm sure the Cuban curse will strike, but hopefully it's not as bad as usual.
You got enough to withstand it this year?
That's right.
All right.
Damn, B on the report card here, Mikey. Not too bad. I got the same exact rating. K-Mac, A-.
A-, and Fred Flintstone with that A+. Somehow.
Fred Flintstone.
Let's take a look at our boy Retro Brett's team real quick. Let's just look at the report card. Let's see what Yahoo's problem was here with Brett's team. Let's click on the report card there. Yeah.
All right.
Let's start off with Retro Brett's draft summary here. If Brett's tip-top team handles adversity during the season the way they did in this draft, it's going to be a long year. After receiving the 9th overall pick, they were clearly rattled, which was made evident by their draft performance. As a result, they are projected to finish 10th in the Trippy Football League, with a record of 0-14.
Ooh, 0-14? Are you kidding me? Wow, not good for old Retro Brett. We'll see if he can at least win a game. I highly doubt it at this point.
I mean, is it too soon to start calling it a bye week?
We'll see. He's got some players. Julio Jones, your boy.
Yeah, I think Retro Brett's going to come through. I like a few of his players that he's got here.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think he's going to come through. Matt Forte is definitely going to be a good one for him. So,
yeah. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Make sure to stay tuned here at Trippy Commentaries. We have some huge things planned. And football season is here. Viva la football. Mike, any last words here?
Well said, Mike.
My only last words are stay trippy, everyone.